The Nintendo Switch has become one of the greatest consoles in video game history. Sure, it's the hybrid portable design. Sure, it's the first-party Nintendo classics that have released on the system. It's also the wealth of rare and valuable games that keep collectors engaged and excited. The Switch 2 is on the horizon, but people are still rushing to pre-order games from Limited Run and jumping at restocks at DGP. This week, we look at 7 more insanely expensive Switch games in the latest episode of These Games Are Worth How Much. Without further ado, let's get into it. Thimbleweed Park was released across all platforms in March of 2017. The game was developed by Ron Gilbert and Gary Winnick and is a spiritual successor to their classic graphic adventure point-and-click games Maniac Mansion and The Secret of Monkey Island. It features that same classic third-person perspective and verb commands to interact with the game world. This game takes the nostalgia one step further for fans of horror and suspense television. The developers stated they were inspired by and wanted to parody shows like Twin Peaks, X-Files, and True Detective. The game is filled with spot-on humor featuring such hilarious characters as Chuck, the ghostly owner of a robotics factory, and Ransom, a cursed clown who can never remove his makeup. Angela and Antonio are the native Mulder and Scully. They must save the citizens of the town from a danger I won't spoil here. The game has a wildly successful Kickstarter and would later go on to become LRG's first release. To partake in LRG and point-and-click history will run you about $92, complete in box.
Sold! Cha-ching!
The Lost Child was released in 2017 for the PS4 and would later receive a Switch port in 2018. Many folks don't know the game is a follow-up to the 2011 cult classic El Shaddai. It features first-person dungeon-crawling RPG action as well as monster collecting. The game has an unusual story behind both its development and demise. Sawaki Takayasu, the creator of El Shaddai, announced he was purchasing the rights to the IP from Ignition Games and would be expanding it with a new game under his own development studio. NIS later announced a Western release and a Switch port. In June of 2023, the game was abruptly delisted in all regions outside of Japan as a new company took over the publishing rights. This of course put a pep in the step of physical collectors, with the game reaching heights of $150 complete in box. It's come down a bit since. To find The Lost Child will cost you about $99 complete in box today.
You get a discount!
Senran Kagura Reflections was released in 2017 in Japan and the following year in the West. It would receive a Steam port in 2019. It's an ecchi romance game set in the Senran Kaga universe. The game was a bit controversial for not having any combat, just mini-games focused around touching and massaging the girls' bodies. It uses the HD Rumble feature to enhance the experience, promising to let you actually feel the jiggle physics. Also controversial was the fact that the base game only featured the character Asuka, and to romance and massage the other characters, you'd have to cough up even more cash for the DLC. The game was released physically in small quantities by Limited Run Games. The game also received an incredibly limited dual pack collector's edition in Japan, featuring Peach Beach Splash as well. To test your reflexology skills will cost you about $100 complete in box.
This can't be!
Minecraft Story Mode Season 2 was released episodically between July and December of 2017 across multiple platforms. The story follows Jesse and many of his friends from Season 1, this time pitted against the wicked admin. Both seasons feature multiple famous actors and real-life Minecraft YouTube celebrities doing the voices. These include Patton Oswalt, Corey Feldman, and Paul Rubens, as well as Captain Sparkles, Dan TDM, and Stampy Longnose. The Switch would later go on to receive a very limited retail physical release that featured all 5 episodes of Season 2 on the cart. When Telltale Games went under, the games began to be delisted from digital storefronts. One particular point of controversy was on the Xbox Live Marketplace, specifically for the 360, which does not allow removing games from sale while allowing existing owners to download them. The game was listed at an outrageous $100 digitally to discourage players from buying the game. Though some stated the move was to allow existing players to download the game again before it was gone for good, seeing the episodes listed and actually purchasable for $100 each was unsettling for some, especially with the young player base who may not understand why this was done or why they could not purchase them. With the low print run and subsequent delisting, prices have risen sharply for the game. To take down the admin will cost you around $102, complete in box.
Ready to get gouged?
Pokemon Sword and Shield were released to international furor in November 2019. The game featured the familiar storyline of a novice young trainer improving his or her technique and powering up his or her Pokemon to eventually face the champions of the region. The game went on to sell nearly 30 million copies and became the second best-selling Pokemon installment in the series. The release was not without controversy though. Pokemon games are well known for the ability to transfer existing Pokemon from priorly played games forward. When it was announced the game would only allow for Pokemon from the game's specific region to be used, fans were incensed. The developer claimed because of the size and graphic scope of the game, as well as new features like Dynamax and Gigantamax requiring new or redone assets, as well as the sheer number of Pokemon, that it simply was not possible to include this beloved feature. The exclusion of this feature and the controversy surrounding it went on to become known as Dexit. Fans also accused Nintendo and Game Freak of failing to improve on graphics and animation from previous games, and data miners produced assets that had been reused from prior titles. The game was review bombed on multiple critic sites during this time. Game Freak denied these claims, and the hashtag GameFreakLied began trending on Twitter. Sword and Shield were also the first games in the series to feature paid DLC. 2 DLC expansions were released for the game. This further angered players, with many believing the content should have been offered as a free update to the game. In November 2020, a Switch revision that included both expansions on cart was released. This was a huge deal for game preservationists, and they quickly sold out. A double pack featuring both games in one package was also released around this time. To capture Pokemon Sword and Shield with the expansion pass on cart will cost you between $106 and $120 complete in box, depending on your selection.
Next in line?
RXN Ryen was released in December of 2017 by shmup specialist Golty. The game commemorated Golty's 10th anniversary. The game touted using the entire width of the 16:9 field, offering an increased challenge to players. It featured lovely anime cutscenes and character portraits. I honestly couldn't find a ton of information on the game, and with the high price and limited availability, getting a copy to review wasn't feasible. It received a standard and deluxe edition release through PlayAsia, which quickly dried up on the secondary market. To add RXN Ryen to your Switch arsenal will cost you around $125, complete in box.
Another happy customer.
Digimon World Next Order was released in 2016 for the PlayStation Vita and would be released the next year for the PlayStation 4, also bringing the title to the West. Along with Cyber Sleuth, the game was the first game localized in North America in many years. An enhanced version was ported to the Switch and PC in 2023. The game was received well by fans, but garnered little support as the series has lost a substantial amount of relevance during its regional release hiatus. It was criticized for being too difficult, with Digimon dying in-game after a set amount of time, though they would be reborn with small boosts in egg form. Sprinting, an easy mode, and Japanese voices were added for the enhanced releases. There is no golden ticket on this one. It's not LRG. It wasn't delisted. Digimon fans have long suffered from the fact their beloved IP has never really been properly marketed in the West. Low print runs and low consumer interest and confidence lead to insanely high prices for physical editions. To explore the digital world alongside your Digimon friends will cost you around $145, complete in box.
Violence is on sale today.
Well, that about wraps up our second edition of These Switch Games Are Worth How Much. How is your Switch collection looking? Did we miss any expensive titles you love? Let us know in the comments. If you like what we're doing on the channel, why not consider subscribing? It really helps the channel, and we're oh so close to 1,000 subscribers. As always, thanks for watching. Until next time, and stay creepy.